Climate change is one of the most critical issues facing our planet today. It is a phenomenon that has been caused primarily by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial processes, which have led to an increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases trap heat and cause planet's temperature to rise, resulting in range of environmental and societal impacts. Is to provide an in-depth exploration of this complex and multifaceted issue, highlighting the science behind it, the impacts it is having on the planet and human society, and the potential solutions that can be implemented to address it. By raising awareness and understanding of climate change, the documentary aims to inspire actions and mobilize individuals, communities, and policy makers to take steps to mitigate its effects and work toward a more sustainable future. The documentary will present a range of viewpoints and perspectives, drawing on the expertise of scientists, policymakers, activists, and community leaders to provide a comprehensive and nuanced exploration of the issue. Ultimately, the goal of documentary is to inspire hope and motivate individuals to make positive changes in their own lives and communities to help tackle this global challenge. Climate change is a critical issue because of the significant and far reaching impacts it's having on the planet and human society. Some reasons why it is important to address climate change. Climate change is causing a range of environmental impacts, including rising temperature, sea level rise more frequent and severe weather events, melting of glaciers and sea ice, and change in precipitation patterns. These changes are causing widespread damage to ecosystems and threatening biodiversity, as well as causing severe impacts on wildlife and their habitat. Climate change is also have significant impacts on human society, including impacts on public health, water and food security, economic stability and social equity. For example, rising temperatures can lead to heat stress and respiratory illnesses, while droughts and floods can disrupt food production and cause water shortages. These impacts are particularly severe for vulnerable populations such as the poor, the elderly, and marginalized communities. Climate change is also having significant economic impacts, including damage to infrastructure, property, and natural resources. Climate related disasters are becoming more frequent and costly, and the cost of adaptations and mitigation efforts are also substantial. Climate change is a global issue that requires cooperation and action from all nations. Failures to address climate change can have significant geopolitical implications, including conflicts over resources, exacerbation of existing social and economic disparities. Addressing climate change is critical for achieving sustainable development, which aims to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. By addressing climate change, we can create a more resilient and sustainable future for ourselves and future generations. The basic science of climate change involves understanding the greenhouse effect and the role of human activity in causing climate change. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that occurs when certain gases in the Earth's atmosphere, known as greenhouse gases, trap heat from the sun and keep the planet's temperature at a level suitable for life. Without greenhouse effect, the earth would be too cold to support life. The main greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. The burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas, as well as deforestation and other industrial processes, have significantly increased the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, particularly carbon dioxide. This increase in greenhouse gases has intensified the natural greenhouse effect, causing the Earth's temperature to rise and resulting in range of environmental and societal impacts collectively known as climate change. The scientific consensus is that human activity is the primary cause of climate change. Scientists have been studying the Earth's climate for decades and have amassed a large body of evidence that support this conclusion. This evidence includes global temperature record shows that Earth's temperature has been steadily rising over the past century, with the warmest years on record occurring in the last decade. Glaciers and ice sheets around the world are melting at unprecedented rate, leading to rising sea levels and increased risk of flooding. The increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide is causing the oceans to become more acidic, which is having significant impact on marine ecosystems and the organism that depends on them. Climate change is causing more frequent and severe weather events such as hurricane, droughts, floods, and heat waves. As the temperature rises, glaciers and ice sheets around the world are melting at unprecedented rate, leading to rising sea level and increased risk of flooding. Rising temperature are affecting the timing of natural events such as flower migration and hibernation, which can have significant impacts on ecosystems and food web. Climate change is causing more frequent and intense heat waves, which are having significant impacts on human health and ecosystems. As sea levels rise, low-lying coastal areas are increasingly vulnerable to flooding and storm surge. Rising sea levels can also cause salt water to intrude into freshwater resources, affecting the availability of water for drinking and agriculture. A coastal habitat are lost to sea level rise. Many species that rely on these habits for survival are threatened. Climate change is causing more frequent and intense storms, which can cause flooding, landslides, and other hazards. Climate change is altering precipitation patterns, causing some regions to become drier and others to become wetter. Drier conditions and more frequent heat waves are increasing the risk of wildfires in many parts of the world. The oil spill caused significant damage to marine ecosystems in the Gulf of Mexico, including the deaths of numerous marine animals, including dolphins, sea turtles, and birds. The oil also damaged habitat, such as marsh and wetland, that provide critical breeding and nesting grounds for many species. Economic impacts. The fishing and tourism industry in the Gulf of Mexico was severely impacted by oil spill, resulting in billions of dollars in economic losses and job losses. The release of radioactive materials from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant resulted in elevated levels of radiation exposure workers and nearby residents, which may increase their risk of cancer and other health problems. The disaster resulting in the release of radioactive materials into the air and water, causing contamination of soil, water and food supplies. The long-term impacts of this contamination on ecosystem are still being studied. Hurricane Katrina caused significant loss of life and damage to infrastructure, particularly in the city of New Orleans. The storm surge caused levees to fail, leading to widespread flooding and displacement of residents. The hurricane caused significant damage to wetlands and other coastal ecosystems, which provide important habitat for many species of wildlife. The loss of these ecosystems can far-reaching impacts on biodiversity and provision of ecosystem services. The decision to switch the source of drinking water in Flint, Michigan, resulting in exposure of residents to high level of lead and other contaminants, which can have serious health impacts, particularly for children. The contamination of water supply also had impact on local ecosystems, including rivers and lakes. Solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources can help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impact of climate change. Government and private companies can invest in renewable energy infrastructure and research to help transition away from fossil fuels. Protecting and restoring natural ecosystem can help to maintain biodiversity and preserve critical ecosystem services such as water purification and pollination. Sustainable land use practices such as regenerative agriculture and sustainable forestry can help to promote biodiversity and reduce carbon emissions. Governments can implement policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, such as carbon pricing and emissions regulations. Policies can also be implemented to promote sustainable development, such as land use planning and initiatives for green infrastructure. Individuals can take actions to reduce their own environmental impacts, such as reducing energy use, reusing public transportation, and reducing consumption of meat and other resource-intensive products. Consumers can also choose to support companies that prioritize sustainability and environmental responsibility. It is important to know that no single solution will be sufficient to address all of the environmental challenges we face. Instead, a combination of approaches will be necessary, including large-scale systematic changes and individual actions. Collaboration and cooperation across sectors will also be critical to addressing environmental problems and creating a more sustainable future. Importance of individual action and the role that each person can play in creating a more sustainable future. Individual action is a critical component of creating a more sustainable future. While systematic changes and public policies are important, individuals also have responsibility to take actions to reduce their environmental impact and promote sustainable practices. Some reasons why individual action is important. While each individual action may seem small, the cumulative impact of many individuals taking actions can be significant. For example, if many people choose to drive less or switch to electric vehicles, this can have large impact on reducing carbon emissions. Number 2, individual action can influence broader societal and cultural change. Individual actions can help to shape societal norms and cultural values around sustainability. By modeling sustainable behavior and encouraging others to do the same, individuals can help to create a culture of sustainability. By taking actions themselves, individuals can inspire and motivate others to do the same. This can create a ripple effect of positive change. By choosing to support sustainable business and products, individuals can help to create demand for more sustainable options. This can encourage businesses to prioritize sustainability in their operations and offerings. There are many ways that individuals can take actions to promote sustainability, including reducing energy use, conserving water, reducing waste, supporting sustainable business, and advocating for policy change. By taking actions themselves and encouraging others to do the same, individuals can play an important role in creating a more sustainable future. Summarize the key points of documentary and reiterate the importance of taking actions to address environmental issues. Throughout the documentary, we explored the critical issue of climate change and its impacts on the planet. We discussed the basic science of climate change, including the greenhouse effect and the role of human activity in causing climate change. We also look at the evidence climate change and its impact having on the environment, including rising temperatures, sea level rise, and changing weather patterns. The documentary also highlighted specific examples of environmental disasters and their effects, from wildfire to hurricanes, and discussed potential solutions to these problems. We discussed renewable energy conservation efforts, public policy change, and individual action as ways to mitigate the impacts of climate change and create a more sustainable future. It is clear that climate change is a critical issue that demands immediate action. We must all take responsibility for our own environmental impact and work together to create a systematic change to address this issue. By taking actions to reduce our carbon footprint, support sustainable businesses, and advocate for policy change, we can help to create a more sustainable future for ourselves and future generations. The time to act is now, and we must all do our part to address this urgent challenge.